Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Sens Nation Podcast. And the plot thickens in the Battle of Ontario. We're coming at you on a day off between Game 2 and Game number 3. And the Sens, unfortunately, most of you tuning in right now, probably Sens fans, they are heading back to the capital. Well, they have already. They were working out a little bit today at the Canadian Tire Centre. They return with an 0-2 situation. A tough loss at Toronto by a score of 3-2 in overtime in a game the Sens probably deserved a better fate. But the bottom line is the scoreboard is what it is, and the Sens are down 2-0 with the next two games to be played in Ottawa. Let us say hello to the coach, Gregg Kennedy. Gregg, how are you today?
Well, I was doing okay, Steve, until I watched the goal again before in preparation for the show, Steve. I rewatched the goal again, and it just pisses me off. It's so bad. I understand that mistakes happen. That's how goals happen, because of mistakes. But these are mistakes that should not be made at this level, at this time of year, in this situation. It can't happen. And it irritates me still.
Well, they had first time jitters, I think, out of the gate in game number 1, and I guess they had a little first-time jitters when it came to the difference between a 3-on-3 overtime in October and a 5-on-5 Stanley Cup playoff overtime. That was a meltdown of epic proportions. They seemed to have established a little bit of poise in the game. They took it over, game number 2, in the second period. Mm-hmm. Insane difference in the shot count. I think the shot attempts were something like 33-7 in the second period. It was crazy. But I think in overtime, again, the spotlight with the noobs, and you had a lot of them out there on the game-winning goal, was maybe a little bit too much. So since you brought it up, let's break it down. What did you mostly have a problem with on the game-winning goal?
Well, everyone has a problem with Drake Batherson and the stick check, and he had Ty Domi lined up right in the train tracks. Just step into him, Drake. Just knock him on his ass, excuse me. Instead, he went for
He could have ended him. He could have ended him.
It could have been a serious injury. Instead, he goes to pick the stick check. But even before that happened, Dylan Cousins on the back check. Get your head in a swivel, look around, say, oh, there's only this Benoit guy, and I see Clevin, and I see Shabbat. There must be somebody else in blue. He never turned. He never looked. He was staring at Benoit to his right the whole way, and then went over to Benoit. He actually almost ran over Max Domi while trying to get across the ice to go towards Benoit. I don't know why. Just turn around, play back, play like a defenseman, skate backwards, pick up Max Domi, and take Max Domi to the net or wherever he goes, and nothing would have come of it. So that bothered me. The Batherson stick check bothered me. The Batherson turnover bothered me. Clevin backing in off the rush bothered me. The more replays I watched of it last night, as the game ended, they replay after replay after replay. Live, I was ticked off seeing this, and then each replay, you say, oh, look at that. Oh, wait, I missed that. My God, it was just terrible. It couldn't have been played worse. You could not possibly play a 2-on-4 worse than the Sens did last night.
Agreed. And that 2-on-4 situation, the 4 in this case, was 4 guys who've never played in the Stanley Cup playoffs before, let alone in overtime. And so I think that was a part of it. People had an issue, I think, with the Batherson turnover initially, thinking that, odd man rush the other way. No, the Leafs actually went off on a line change. They changed on the fly instead of, they had some guys that needed to get off. So it was just Benoit, and it was just Ty Domi or Max Domi. And some people were on Clevin for why is this isn't Cale Makar? Why is Clevin allowing him in at the blue line? If you watch it back, when Batherson makes the turnover, it's not so much the 2-on-4 that's the rush the other way that's the issue. It's the fact that the Sens D were trying to get off the ice. You had Matt and Clevin out there when the rush began, and so Clevin and Matt start easing over to the bench. Shabbat comes on, Matt gets off. But Clevin does a U-turn after Jensen has already jumped on the ice. So technically for a moment there, the Sens could have been called for too many men on the ice. Clevin now beats back to get back in the play, whereas Jensen had to dive back onto the bench to prevent a penalty from being called. And that's why you had Benoit with an easy path to get in down the right wing because Clevin was scrambling back and ended up going back too far, as did Shabbat, in my opinion. Like, Shabbat's covering no one. It's a 2-on-4, and why he has to back up, I guess it's just a force of habit. He backs up right on top of, or at least halfway, to Linus Ullmark, and he's screening him on top of that. Benoit rolls around and joins the screen as well. You got Shabbat sort of standing there like a 1970s goaltender on a hockey card. And at that stage of the game, Ullmark's got no prayer whatsoever. So yeah, it was a lot. There was a lot there that happened, and I'm with you. Cousins and the flybys that happened there, like the kind of stick checking you see in my men's beer league. You know, there is body contact. It is a weapon. You guys have been throwing your body around pretty good in this series. All you needed to do, you didn't have to end Max Domi, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Just get a little contact on him, and there's no chance for a shot. But they played it the way they did. A lot of stuff happened, but I'll say that Drake Batherson handled himself pretty well at the news conference today, taking full responsibility.
Yeah, and if you want to know how it should have been played, look at the Batherson rush the other way. Batherson's carrying the puck up the ice. He's in an outside lane. He's got speed. He's safe. He's being pursued by Nick Robertson. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the right D who's playing more in the middle, and Benoit's on the left side. As the play crosses the blue line, Ekman-Larsson looks over. He sees Robertson's got back pressure on Batherson, so he sort of dismisses Batherson as a threat at that situation. But he sees Zetterlund coming. Zetterlund does a mid-lane drive just like you're supposed to. Ekman-Larsson backs up with him and takes him to the net just like you're supposed to. So that leaves the left D, Benoit. Benoit has no reason to back up, no reason at all, because it's a 2-on-2. Robertson's pressuring on Batherson, and Ekman-Larsson's got Zetterlund. So what does Benoit do? He stays up. He stays up. Here comes the second wave. It's Dylan Cousins coming late. It's the simplest thing in the world. I'm going to pick up this guy, whatever. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes the puck. You know, like he's just standing where he should be, waiting to take Dylan Cousins on and play him man to man and cover him. And instead, Batherson with a backhand pizza, boop, puts it right in the middle of the ice, and we're going the other way just like that. So that's how it should have been played. That's if Ottawa had played it the way the Leafs had played it, it would have died the same way.
Ready for the big game? Your home should be too. With Celebrate Lights, you can show your team spirit and light up every victory. Sync your lights to your team's colors and let the whole neighborhood know when they score. Match your team's colors, celebrate every win, and take the excitement to the next level. Celebrate permanent holiday lighting, the easiest way to set the stage for unforgettable moments.
All right, so here is what Drake Batherson had to say in conversation with the media on Wednesday in between games.
Can you take us through what you saw on the overtime goal with Max Domi? We know you're on the ice for him.
Yeah, no, you live and you learn. I mean, you make a mistake and you learn from it, and sometimes it's the hard way, and obviously it costs us the game. So live and you learn, but like I said, you got to move on to the next one. But definitely wish I could have that one back, to say the least.
What's the response in the room to a mistake like that to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a lot on me, to be honest with you. But like I said, you live and you learn the hard way. But the best thing you can do is come out tomorrow and try to make a difference.
So there's Drake Batherson in conversation with the media, handling it, Greg, I think really the only way you can. Take some responsibility and not dwell on it, and be ready to move forward to the next game.
Yeah, exactly. And you would expect no less. These are professional athletes. It's like to expect the guy to come on and say, yeah, I completely screwed up. It's all my fault. I'm going to be living with this one forever. I'm going to feel like crap for the next 2 weeks. Like, none of that's going to happen. He's professional. He understands what happened. He knows that he was partially at fault. And he's going to turn the page and move on and play better tomorrow. That's all there is to it. What more can he do?
Yeah, exactly. So when we look at the goaltenders in this series, Um, I think there's no getting around it. Stolarz is outplaying Linus Ullmark. Statistically, it's night and day. I wish I'd written down, but they're very dramatic in terms of save percentage and goals against.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, most of the goals that have beaten Ullmark have been of the very high quality shot variety, and there were some really ugly goals. There's no doubt about that in game number 2. What was your general impression of the goals we saw in game 2 and how Ullmark's doing?
Well, he definitely bounced back. You had, 3 or 4 of the goals in this game were off of legs or sticks or bodies or whatever. Like, I'm not faulting him in any way, shape, or form. He made a pad save on the one, kicked the rebound right into the back of, whose leg was it? Went right into the back of, was it Jensen's leg and then into the net, or
exactly.
was it Jensen? Yeah. Like, I mean, hey, what do you want? You know, you're not gonna be able to react to that. You're not going to see that kind of thing happening. So I thought he was fine again. Like, not again, sorry. I thought he was fine. I thought he was more than fine. He held the Leafs to basically 2 goals in 60 minutes. Most nights you hold the opposition to 2, you're probably going to win. So he deserved a better fate more than anybody else. I know that people are saying, the Senators deserved a better fate. I thought that Linus Ullmark deserved a better fate in this game more than anyone. He deserved to get a dub last night.
Yeah, that was just unfortunate, the 2 goals. I mean, Batherson getting grief for the Riley goal as well, but I mean, he was on him. I thought if you're going to, Shabbat deserves a little grief there as well, because, that whole deal when you're running a practice and you got 2 cones and you have the kids, do hard stops on the cone, crossover, hard stop at the other cone, and back and forth, and just get them a real sense of changing direction and the effort that goes with that. To see how easily Nylander kind of beat Shabbat on the boards, who didn't come to a full stop, kind of did that sort of swoopy C-cut thing, and that gave Nylander just the passing seam that he needed to get it over to Riley. And at that stage, I mean, at that point, Batherson is back covering for Shabbat, and he's got Riley's stick all checked up, and the puck goes in off Riley's skates. Very slowly, by the way. It looked like Ullmark almost got it with his paddle. But, just sort of an unfortunate situation. But, just
that's
a bunch of ugly goals.
That's a high-end player creating something out of nothing. Like, that's a skill guy with great feet. I mean, you want edge control? There it is. Great edges. It's no different than what Tim Stützle does countless times to defensemen in the offensive zone. Tight turn, stop, start, turn, tight. That's what Tim Stützle does to open up passing lanes for himself. And that's all Nylander was doing. He opened up a passing lane for himself. But again, it goes in off a foot, like, what are you going to do? Like, it's just, it's in, it's done. Memory of a goldfish, I think, is the expression you're looking for. And then just move on, right? Like, that's all he could do.
It's just unfortunate because the Sens this season, they had the best record in the NHL when they score first. And they just have put themselves, whether it's through luck or what else, they're killing themselves. I mean, to go down 2-0 on the road 2 games in a row, I mean, it's just like a chef's kiss for a losing recipe. So that's hard to overcome, and they got to get off to a better start on Thursday in game number 3, no doubt about that. Now, there was a moment in the game there's a lot of controversy on social media about, and that was Ridly Greig getting completely lumberjacked by Anthony Stolarz. I think we admitted here in game 1 that in that situation in the third period, Ridly Greig's going hard to the net. He went down awfully easy. He saw an opportunity to maybe run the goalie, a tradition as old as time. And a lot of Leaf fans were trying to defend Stolarz in that battle that he had with Gregg in front of the net. There's a couple of cross checks, a vicious slash, and then just a full-on body slam, basically, at the end of it. And Gregg really did nothing at all except what he did in game 1. So Leaf fans thought it was completely acceptable to have offsetting minors, whereas Sens fans were losing their minds. What was your read on it?
Exactly like you just said. Terrible, terrible call by the referee. Yeah, especially if Gregg did something wrong, then it had to be before he got shoved to the ice, right? If Gregg did anything that was worthy of a penalty, it would have been 5 seconds before the whistle blew, before he got shoved to the ice. And we know that all he did was get shoved to the ice, then there's a whistle, then they each get penalties. So if Gregg had done something wrong, why wasn't his arm up? Why wasn't there a delayed penalty coming against Ridly Greig? There was no call coming of any sort of anything to do with what went on there. So Gregg did nothing wrong, nothing worthy of a penalty, and then gets shoved down to the ice. Yeah, okay, he went through the crease when he probably didn't have to, right, as he was leaving the zone, but didn't touch Stolarz. You could skate through the crease. He didn't touch him, didn't nudge him, nothing. Just was leaving the zone, went through the crease. Now he's looking for trouble, no problem. And to me, he did. Yeah, to me, he played it perfectly. He didn't instigate a damn thing. And how they called one on each is just totally bogus. I don't get it. Should have been one penalty on Stolarz.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking for a 10-game suspension or anything like that. I just found the offsetting minors to be absolutely just ludicrous, and it was funny to hear the differences. So I had an opportunity to watch the game number 2 on ESPN, and to hear the differences on the Canadian feed. And bear in mind, the Canadian feed is run by a company that owns the Toronto Maple Leafs. On the Canadian feed, they were actually giggling about it. Oh, he got his money's worth on that one, didn't he? Whereas on the ESPN feed, where this just in, they don't give a crap about the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is just one of 32 teams. They're saying Stolarz, I don't understand. Stolarz should have 3 or 4 penalties on that exchange. Yeah. That's not coming from Sens fans. That is coming from ESPN. And I just found that an interesting contrast to see. And it was really, honestly, quite refreshing to not have because I mean, we all understand why they super serve that fan base and that team. Again, the ownership factor, the money, the most eyeballs. That's just the Canadian way. That's the reality of the situation. I'm not naive to that, but it was so refreshing to hear a full game where they're complimenting both teams equally. They're criticizing both teams equally. It was like, wow, that was phenomenal. So if you ever get a chance, I know ESPN's not available in Canada. If you ever get a chance to catch their feed, especially during a Battle of Ontario game, you will love it, I think, if you're a Sens fan.
I do all through the season, Steve. I watch the late games or other teams' games, and I usually watch it on one of those sources that I have. But the other thing that I did notice when you're talking about the broadcast, and I have not, during the heyday of Bob Cole and Harry Neal, when people would complain about the way the Senators are treated by the broadcast crew, and it's like Bob Cole doesn't even know any of the Senators' names, it's the Sens player and what have you. I was kind of disgusted, and you noticed it real early. Every single whistle that went to a replay of some sort, it was about the Leafs. Even if it was the Senators doing something offensively, it was about the Leafs and how the Leafs reacted to it or how the Leafs defended it. Nothing was ever, Craig Simpson, nothing was ever a positive comment about something a Senator did in any of his replays, in any of his commentary. And same with the intermissions. It was as if the Senators weren't even on the ice for most of the night with the intermission guys. Each story was about a Leaf, a Leaf, a Leaf. And it got sickening after a while. And I'm not one of those fanatical fans, but I now understand better. I had a real good dose of it and actually realized it for the first time. Now I understand why some Sens fans get really, really upset when they're watching a game on the CBC or on Rogers when it involves the Leafs and the Sens. I get it, folks. I get it.
This is my debut on ESPN. I had no idea. And I did notice as well, the other thing was that Sportsnet is clearly turning the crowd noise up to 10. Whereas ESPN, it wasn't like this obnoxious din in the background. It was like it was a reasonable amount of noise. When big things happened, yeah, it was big. But there's no doubt in my mind, and I mean, they can come at me and accuse me of making stuff up. I don't believe that to be true. They are jacking up that sound. Anyway.
When you can't hear the play-by-play guy, there's something going on.
Right. Exactly. Now, I want to get back to Ridly Greig, though. He's always a man of few words, obviously. I had a chance to sit down with him for about a half an hour for the cover story of Faces magazine coming out on newsstands on May 1st. and was able to get him to open up a little bit. And we had nice exchange and stuff. But with 5,000 microphones in front of him, Ridly Greig isn't going to give you a ton. That's just kind of his personality. But he did address the skirmish with Stolarz in a conversation with the media, mostly led by TSN's Claire Hanna today. And here's what that sounded like.
Not much, to be honest. Just a nice battle in front of the net. That's about it.
When you were in that battle, did you think that he was going to get called for a penalty? What was going through your mind?
I assumed there was going to be a penalty. Yeah, I didn't think too much about it, but in the moment, you're just kind of battling, yeah.
Were you surprised when you got the penalty after, too?
Maybe a touch, yeah.
Man, a few words. It really is interesting to see how he is building a fan base, not just among Sens fans, but to hear Nick Cousins, when he emerged in the lineup going into Game 2, he literally called Ridly Greig his favorite player. Not surprisingly, because they do play kind of a similar fashion. Gregg's got a little more offensive upside to him, but basically Nick Cousins is an older version of Ridly Greig. But yeah, he just to hear Travis Green talk about the kid, to hear Steve Stais talk about him, they're absolutely thrilled that he signed that 3-year contract for the deal that he did, I think back in January.
He's Travis Green. Go pull up some footage and watch Travis Green play the game. He is Travis Green, right? But not a top 6 guy, more of a middle 6 guy, a pest, a little bit of offensive upside, penalty killer, checking line grinder, in your face, chirper. Like there's Travis Green. That's really Gregg. So yeah, I can understand why the coach loves him.
All right, so game number 2 was a loss, and that's the bottom line. But when you compare it to game 1, I mean, considerably better. And I do apologize for my very loud, obnoxious cat who loves to meow through every podcast. He hears me up here talking. Yeah, he's had some good takes today, I thought.
He's been wandering around really behind you the whole show. It's great.
He's a Panthers fan, though, as you'd expect. Anyway, I think we can agree, though. You can come at me with the Sens were better than the Leafs 5-on-5. They have to steal the penalty box. That felt to me to some degree like a manufactured silver lining, whereas what we saw in game 2 and what they did in that second period and how they, battled back into the game, I mean, that was genuinely a really good performance and potentially one to build on because, you look at teams, you can say all you want, we're down 0-2. Like, this doesn't feel like the Sens are out of this series to me. Sometimes it does. 0-2 is always 0-2, whether you're going on the road or at home. This does not feel like a lost series to me yet. What do you think?
Yeah, like I'm a firm believer you're not out of it until you lose at home. So I've put that out there right away, first thing. But their offensive game has not been enough. Even having said that, it was probably enough that they could have won that game, right? If they'd scored a goal in overtime, they win the game. They're not out of it. No, I think they're still in it because their 5-on-5 play has been that strong. I just keep going back to 2 goals. You need to score goals. 2 games, 4 goals is not going to get her done very often. They need to get some offense going. That to me is the only thing that's missing. Like you could argue that game 1 there was discipline missing. They fixed that. The only thing they need to fix is they need to get some offense. They need to score some goals. And I enjoyed watching Zetterlund get some shifts in David Perron's spot a couple times and in Claude Giroux's spot a couple times and was making some things happen when he was on the ice. That was real smart from Travis Green to get Zetterlund some more opportunities. I think Michael Amadio is another guy who can break through and create something here. Those 2 guys, I think, could score some goals. Then you're really going to get somewhere until the big guys finally start producing.
Yeah, ESPN has some really nice things to say about Michael Amadio and his doggedness on the puck.
Yeah.
I know it's a grand, sort of a proclamation, but he really does have sort of that Mark Stone way about him. Like, how does he keep winning that? He has this heavy stick. How does he keep winning that 50-50 battle? And honestly, that's a huge asset in this series because if you look statistically at what has happened in 50-50 battles, like the first half of that hockey game, I think the first period was something like above 80% in favor of the Leafs winning 50-50 battles. And so the more Michael Amadios and the more, that he leads in that area, the better, because that's the game in a nutshell. It's not, who's fast over 200 feet. It's not who's the most physical. Are you winning the 50-50 battles? Because that's what the game is all about all over the ice.
He's reminiscent of a Connor Brown in that sense, right? Like Connor Brown was a dog on a bone. Connor Brown got there and found a way to create a turnover. Lots of takeaways, as like a Mark Stone, as you alluded to. Same sort of player as Connor Brown, or even Zach Hyman. Doesn't quite score the goals like a Zach Hyman, but that's a Zach Hyman game too. He's a dog on a bone guy who gets the right place and scores. But I like Michael Amadio. I think he's, compared to what he was the first time around here when he was here, a few years back, and then I think he went to the Leafs before he ended up in LA, or Vegas too, right? Yeah. I like Michael.
He was in
Amadio.
LA
like
before Ottawa.
Right, before Ottawa. I like his game. I love the way he plays. He's my kind of player, and I just I think he's a guy who can make some things happen in this series. I'm kind of, is Shane Pinto playing well, Steve? Do you notice Shane Pinto, or is it because of the matchup? Shane Pinto doesn't do as much offensively, so he hasn't stood out as much. But Shane Pinto hasn't done a heck of a lot in my mind, I don't think, especially offensively. He had the one real good slot shot in game one, but I haven't seen much out of Shane Pinto. I think you need more out of Pinto. I think you get the third line to score some goals. Maybe that gets the first two lines going somehow.
There's no one you can look at offensively and say that you're happy with where they are exactly. Right. I think that right now there's, I don't know, a many-way tie for the Sens scoring lead at one point, I think, is where we're at right now. You know what, I might be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure, though, that's the case. Anyway, let us find out what Travis Green's headspace is. I must say, after the game, he had a really composed news conference. Mm-hmm. It was sometimes when you watch him, you think, okay, maybe that guy's a hard ass, and maybe he's in there kicking over garbage cans and doing the Tortorella thing or the Boudreau thing and just tearing a strip off the group. But I didn't get that vibe. I think he understands the kind of group he's got, probably learned some lessons in Vancouver, and he had a really even keel attitude, like minutes after losing this really important game in overtime, and some understanding for a guy like Drake Batherson. And so I thought that was good. And then he met with the media again today. He was even more so and even more gracious with the media. He's got some new faces, obviously, nationally speaking. But, I thought Travis Green said all the right things today at the news conference.
What's your expectation being back here home for a playoff game?
Expectation is to play good, play another good hockey game. Commit to playing 60 minutes the right way. And if you do that, more times than not, it's going to end up in your favor.
Fair.
Hey, Travis. Just going back to that overtime goal, we were just speaking with Drake.
Yeah.
It's like you live and you learn.
Yep.
What's your message to a player like that who's kind of owning up to a mistake on the ice?
Yeah, I grabbed Drake last night. Just, you do live and learn, first of all, and it can eat you up. I want to make sure that he doesn't dwell on it. I think it goes back to a lot of the lessons that we've learned this year. You can't live in the past. You can learn from the past and live in the present. And when you make a mistake that you don't like, that ends up in the back of your net, it doesn't feel good. It's funny. He could have been the hero with 50 seconds left in the game. He does a lot of good things for our team. And it's easy to say that goal cost us. I mean, ultimately it did, but there was no guarantee that we were winning the game as well. If that play didn't happen, they could have still won the game some other point in overtime. So I think it's important that you understand the mistakes or whatever, you learn and you move on, and you can't dwell on it. And I'm excited for him to get another chance to play tomorrow as well.
Just to follow up on that too, in the last two games, I think you guys have allowed 2 goals in the first 3 or 4 shots. How do you address the starts?
Well, I think one puck went off Morgan Riley's skate, one puck went off Jensen, and I don't know how you stop it. It's not like you're just going to stop them, but they got a couple lucky bounces, and but they're also going to the net and getting pucks there, and No, but I've liked our game. I don't think even though we fell behind 2-0, we weren't getting outplayed drastically or anything like that. And this game is, like I've said it many times, you can play well and be behind. And our team's done a good job for the last 3 or 4 months. If things aren't going their way, resetting and during the game and not getting away from it and moving on and not just during the game, but from game to game. And I think that's important in playoff hockey. And these are all things that we've been trying to talk to our team about during the regular season, and hopefully it helps in the playoffs.
And there is Travis Green in conversation with the media, all the audio courtesy of the Senators YouTube channel. And that's some thoughtful answers there. And I like the way that he took Gregg Batherson aside right after the game to kind of, give him that, buck up, soldier kind of speech.
Yeah, an old school guy would just ignore the guy, give him the cold shoulder and not talk to him and deliver the message subliminally that, I'm blaming you. That's the right attitude to take. It's the world we live in now, that people are human beings. Hockey players are human beings, and their psyche's got to be accounted for, and that's the right attitude. And go to the player and address it right away and turn a page, move on. As a coach, I'm aware of what you did. I know what happened. You know what happened. There's no good in us standing around here discussing it. It happened. It's over with. Move on. I agree with him.
Yeah, and this is a particularly good locker room. And so, guys like Gregg Batherson or Shane Pinto or Brady Tkachuk, like there's one guy you list after another, Thomas Chabot, Tim Stützle, they all come with a joie de vivre when they come to the rink. And that's an area of strength for this club. It's an intangible, and it's not necessarily the difference between you winning and losing hockey games. It's just one other thing that when you're listing off the attributes of a good team that can win, that's a positive thing to have, and you don't want to quell that so much, but you do want guys to be accountable. So it's a fine line, and it sounds like Travis Green is walking that right now. A couple of things before we go. Not that 8 playoff series isn't enough hockey. If you're thinking of some junior action to kind of keep an eye on Sens prospects, London versus Kitchener should be pretty good, in that Sens prospect Luke Ellenas scored in Game 7 of overtime after they were down 0-3 in the series. They come back to beat Windsor. Kitchener is moving on to face the London Knights. I think it's not very many. Like there have not been many times when teams have come back from 0-3. I'm not sure exactly what the number is, but I think you can count it on one hand. But they will take on the London Knights. So it's Luke Ellenas, who's got 13 points in 10 games, and Matt Andonovski, who signed a contract. He signed his entry-level deal last year with the Sens. They'll be taking on Blake Montgomery, and the London Knights will be heavy favorites, but still a lot of Sens prospects in one series, which would be kind of cool to watch for those of you who need more hockey.
London's the team to beat, and I love watching that BMO kid play. He's a player. I hope he continues to progress, and I look forward to seeing him play in a Senator jersey someday. That guy's a player right now.
Yeah. Having a slow start in the playoffs so far, just 3 points. But yeah, he is a player, skates well, big guy. Once he fills out a little bit, it'll be interesting to see what kind of player he gravitates toward, right? Like anybody who plays in the NHL is usually got good offensive numbers, whether you're a fourth liner or a first liner. Will he fill out and kind of be that, that big physical guy, or will he be all skill moving to the top 6? Seems to have the personality and wants to score to be a top 6 guy, but things evolve as we know, as we roll along. And this will be final year for Blake Montgomery with the London Knights because, his first and last. And he'll be heading off to the NCAA this fall. And to close it out, yes. So the Sens have been giving Brady Tkachuk, or the Leaf fans have been giving Brady Tkachuk a hard time in games 1 and 2. Brady, you suck. I thought it was ref, you suck for the first, first half of game 1. And then I realized what they were saying. I don't think it's okay. Should Sens fans fight fire with fire? Will they attack Austin Matthews or Stolarz or someone like that? Or do you just ignore that?
You know what I want them to say, and I've been saying it for years. 67. All right,
Solid
it matches
67.
perfectly.
Yeah.
It's well, how's it go? You play a little bit of music, and then it goes 67. I guess why wouldn't you? Like Islander fans chanting 1940, 1940. Why can't the
Yeah.
Leaf fans, or sorry, the Senator
Solid.
fans, do a little 67? Why has somebody not started that? I've been saying it for years, Steve. It needs to happen. Maybe they got to put it on the jumbotron. Are you allowed to do that? I was thinking about that the other night. Like, are you allowed to put something like that on your jumbotron to encourage your fans to trash talk the opposition? I'm not sure, but there's got to be a way. Somebody get a sign that just says 67 and get these people going. Like, let's see it happen. I'd
I
love
like
to
it.
see it.
You're seeing some really chippy social media teams in the middle of games and series, really taking hard runs at the opponent. So I like that. But I have to assume that since you almost never see it, that there's an NHL
It's
rule
not
that you
allowed.
can't be abusive in any way to the
Yeah.
opponent while the game is being played on doing anything like that on the jumbotron. I did hear a couple of things. One was pretty good. Marner's leaving. That's not bad.
That's not
And then
bad.
another one was what was the other one? Oh yes, Austin's forehead, because it's worse than mine. And I'm an old man. I mean, it's really not.
Well, how about mine? That's no better.
Not good.
Austin's forehead.
Yours is better than Austin Matthews.
Or
Anyway,
well, I love the ones where
he's growing. He's kind of growing it out sideways.
or the Brady's better when they're playing Florida. That's pretty good.
Has he played? Has he played at all since Four Nations? I don't think he has. And then he comes in and he's dominant, and Florida wins the game number 1 in Tampa Bay quite handily. Does that change your outlook on the Battle of Florida?
Well, I always liked Florida, even though I picked Tampa all the way. If Florida is allowed to play their game, it can dominate a team like Tampa, right? Because Tampa can't play that kind of game. They might think they can, but they can't. So if Tampa allows Florida to play the Florida game, it's going to be a short series. But conversely, if Florida gets into trying to play a Tampa game, forget about it. Like, it's going to be Tampa racking up the points. So it's an interesting series. It should be a long one, I would think. Like, don't let the score scare you. I think it could be a long series down there.
So with Tkachuk, the older version, Matthew, winning a Stanley Cup last year.
Right.
So you got the Tkachuk family that's going all Brady for the Sens playoffs. So hopefully that will be a longer run and not just go the way the first 2 games went. But game number 3 will be in Ottawa on Thursday night and should be fantastic. Ottawa hosting a playoff game for the first time in 8 years. The town is going crazy about it, and hopefully the Sens give the faithful something to cheer about in game number 3. Let us take our leave. Don't forget that our website is sensnationhockey.com. All the old shows are right there for you to listen to. And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you listen to like a show from 2 years ago talking about a game in October against the Red Wings or something? But a lot of recent shows are still applicable. SensNationHockey.com. We also have the Hockey News, our affiliate, THN.com/Ottawa. Graham Nichols and I writing up a storm along with Andrew Stein, Pat McGuire. So we appreciate you checking that out at THN.com/Ottawa. Gregg, enjoy your evening, and we shall talk to you after game 3.
For sure. Have a good night.